that mindset is literally on the money, because I'm reading that your team beat its day 90 ROI goals by 1.7 times on average. That's massive.
What I'm going to say is not being afraid. This is something that we've been practicing a lot more constantly at Rovio over the past year, I would say. Like being brave, if you want to scale, if there is an opportunity to scale, you don't need to afraid, like just scale, just do it.
If the LTV is 30 or 40% higher, why not to do it? And also, what do you prefer, to have $100 in your pocket today or maybe in 1 month?
Hey, hello. It is time to kick off the 2026 Full Funnel App Growth Series powered by Aarki here at Mobile Groove. It's a special series where we unpack how marketers are connecting the dots across the funnel to build real and measurable, and most importantly, profitable growth. And today we zoom in on retargeting because it is something we're hearing a lot more about. You could say a kind of a renaissance, because the lines between retention and acquisition are starting to blur, and that is where retargeting comes in. So joining me today, they are two seasoned performance marketers at Rovio who are proving that when you re-engage users the right way, your growth never stops. So that's intriguing. So let me bring them on. We have Martin Boccardi.
Hello.
Hey, Martin, great to have you. And Sinem Demiroz, great to have you as well.
Hello.
I have the dynamic duo of Rovio, do I not?
Yes, you do.
Let's just go back to Rovio itself, because I've been to RovioCon a couple of times. It is awesome. It's a name that is synonymous with fun. But what's really interesting is how you've turned that creative energy inward, right? Rethinking growth itself. So yes, it can be exciting. It can be excruciating. Which is it for both of you? I'll start with you, Sinem.
Actually, it is both, because just like you said, being at Rovio is one thing, and then working for a game like Angry Birds 2 is another, because Angry Birds 2 is like this huge IP. Angry Birds is a huge IP, but Angry Birds 2 is also like very grown game, right? That's why maybe also retargeting is very important for us. But at the same time, when it comes to our regular UA operations, sometimes we face with very like big challenges, and then when we are facing those challenges, it's not that fun. But when we come out from that, and it became super exciting and super fun, because then we can actually like enjoy all those fruits that we've been trying to harvest before. So both for me.
Question to you as well, Martin. Exciting or excruciating, or maybe a mix of both?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, for me, it's still very exciting. I'm quite new at Rovio. I joined just like 4 months ago. So for me, it's everything about being excited and knowing the team and working together. I mean, the energy in all offices, because I went to Stockholm office, but I'm working from Barcelona, is incredible. So for me, it's like a dream come true, because I used to play this game. So it's really fun, and it's really enjoyable to work here. But also, as Sinem said, it's an quite old game, so it has its challenges. It's been updated and it's doing really good, but yeah, it's both. It's very excited, but also it's challenging.
It's been a little bit of pain, but also gain, because Rovio has shown such success in re-engaging players across its portfolio. First of all, that is impressive work. How does that impact how you think about retargeting today?
Retargeting is something that is growing for our game Angry Birds 2 a lot more, especially compared to other very successful games that we have in our pipeline, right? So I think finding new channels, and then especially like trying to segment your user base well and smart is very, very important for us. And this is something we tested and we discovered like 1 or 1.5 years ago. Before that, maybe it was more broad when it comes to retargeting. But after that, we were like, okay, we have this huge user base, like old users, and some of them, a big chunk of them are really high value users, and some of them are well, in the middle range, and some of them are not very there. We should segment them in a more, maybe like a smart way, different way, and also find the best channels to leverage those user segments. So this was a big, I think, what changed things when it comes to success on retargeting, and also made us scale higher and higher. And to this day, I think we are still scaling.
So, Martin, that's a great segue to you because you are focused entirely on retargeting. What is really retargeting? What does it look like for you? Because there are so many definitions of it, so many approaches to it. Tell me a little bit about your approach.
I think retargeting at the beginning, it was more like a frame as pure retention tactics, it's like used to retain users, but now it's becoming more like a reacquisition channels when, especially in this industry where I think that the Pareto applies to everyone here. It's like normally 10, 20, 50% of your users are going to bring you the 80 or 90% of the revenue. So lose them is very costly. And we also learned from some studies that we did that even like immediately they churn on our game, they are spending new games. So for us, we call that as a reacquisition because we already lost those users. They are playing other games. They are not spending more time or even making purchases in ours. So we need to try to have more aggressive tactics to bring them back as soon as possible. So I think retargeting is becoming like a very important channel in the mix. And it's going to be even more important, I think, because as you mentioned at the beginning when we started, the boundaries are getting blurred, right, between UA and retargeting. So we need to be there. We need to be sure that we are ready to squeeze as much as possible the LTV of all the users.
We're going to talk about this in more depth, but just curious at a high level, are you thinking about a specific time span? Because a lot of marketers tell me, they wait a certain time, wait to see what kind of players they have, and then retarget. But that's changing as well. And I even hear about people starting to think about retargeting from the day they acquire.
The ideal scenario is not to have one. It's more like have a predictive churn model that say you when is the right time to re-engage those users. But I think we are not there yet, but we are very close to that. We are also pushing our internal teams to build some solutions for this. But right now, as you mentioned, it's more like, okay, we have general rules, X time of inactivity or X, or yeah, it's more like we will have to wait 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 days, no matter what, but it's more like a static rule right now. But we are going to the more churn prediction models, definitely, and that will be the more smart things to do.
That mindset is literally on the money because I'm reading that your team beat its day 90 ROI goals by 1.7 times on average. That's massive. Just think about that for a moment. And then, really cool, hitting its day 365 LTV target within 3 months. So what you thought you'd get in a year, hitting that in 3 months, that is massive.
I think in this case, what made the difference is to understand which audiences could bring us faster results and better results. We did a great job with all the teams, data analytics teams, for example, to came together to put together a list of very strong audiences, not only targeting high valuable players. They made a really good job looking for users that they made some purchases, so we know that they can spend money, but they are very committed with the game. For us, those users are very valuable, have a lot of potential. And I think that makes a difference. And as soon as we saw these results, we were all shocked, of course. And I think it was like a really good teamwork to do this together. Yeah.
One of the exciting things about it is understanding that it's not just about going for the high value users. It's about identifying like that movable middle of users that can be moved into the high value segment. Tell me a little bit about how you approach that, because it's a brave experiment, but it's also one that paid off.
This came together with the team and with data analytics. They put together really good rules to add users to this list that are very potential high value users. looking into which kind of features they used to play, what they want to consume, if they spend gems in the game or not. Going only for the high value users is quite risk because it's also costly. So it's very important to find the opportunities. Not always going for the high risk, high reward is going to give you a high reward. Also a good, like a huge volume of small, medium tier LTV users that could jump to high LTV users could make the difference.
How did you approach this, Sinem? What's like one small change or one thing in the campaign, something you did that made the biggest difference, do you think?
I think, well, I can definitely say that sharing the list, like uploading new list every single day, making this process very dynamic, shifted everything for us. Before that, like, for example, we had a more manual approach because our users are not on MMP only, but we have our own thing on our mediation platform, where it was very hard for us to dynamically share the users' audience list with the, for example, Aarki, with the networks. So we were doing like a manual work, mostly like twice a week, 3 times a week. But the moment we changed that to on a daily basis and a dynamically, and like Martin said, we work with our analytics team and the tech team a lot to overcome this and make this from manual to dynamic. Then yes, we saw a huge success and things started to go better after that point.
That is so simple, but so smart, because what you're doing is because you understand the audiences, the new audiences, and the segmentation is sort of living and learning. I'd like to move on to the creatives here. And your creative testing revealed insights that proved that they were valuable to UA and re-engagement. How do you make certain that that keeps on flowing? Because what you're learning from the creative testing impacts the UA, impacts the retargeting, and impacts that flywheel you're talking about, Martin.
Yeah, exactly. But I think something that we found out with all the creative testing and all the work that mostly Sinem did, because he's our creative specialist, he's running all the creative testing. But something that we found is that there are so many themes in common that's likes to UA users, that also to re-engage users, like nostalgic things. You know, everyone knows Angry Birds. Everyone saw the movie, watched the movies, or played the game sometimes. So showing them something that they already know, something nostalgic, something that is very catching, eye-catching, like it's working for everyone, for all users, new users, and especially it's very strong for us to not have to also develop UI creative, retarget creative. Finding a solution for everyone, it was perfect and it works perfect. Of course, we have to do some small changes, you know, because it's not the same audience that we are talking about when you are targeting UA and retargeting, but the theme of the creative could be the same.
But just a different approach, because as you said, some things are just universal, like the nostalgic appeal of these great experiences. And I like it because we talk about breaking down silos, but you two are actually doing it, actually making it look almost easy. So is it, Sinem?
Well, it
Yeah.
might look easy, but sometimes, well,
Yeah.
sometimes I'm not gonna lie. For example, we are in a place where things are going quite well for Angry Birds too. So right now, everything we do looks like it works, right? But it wasn't like this a year ago or like 2 years ago. There were like many problems we were facing, not just on the UA side, and also like there is this market changes happening all the time, and the privacy getting it was getting strict, etc. So these are all kind of making things very hard for us. But what we do the best at Rovio, I think we do 2 things really well. The first one is testing. Like, we don't take things personal. We don't care about like what's happening on the market. We still have to do what we have to do, right? We should focus on growing our game, although it's like an older one. And we retest it also, not just testing new things, but also the retesting is very important for us. And the second thing is within the company, especially in UA team, but also with other teams, we support each other a lot. We don't really like try to blame one another. We try to always like support each other and give each other ideas. We are actually seeing the results of those harder days, and now we are like scaling, growing higher, and seeing a lot more, success than before.
Martin, you joined, what was that again now? Just a few months ago, is that correct?
Yeah, 4 months ago.
4 months ago. That is impressive. I mean, you're coming into this lean machine. What's exciting for you, or even perhaps challenging to work in that team and that dynamic? Because it's not at every studio. I mean, in some ways, we might wish it was.
Something that I found when I joined here is that the energy is so good. So you come here, everything is new, so we are excited, and all people is like trying to help you along the whole process, onboarding process, and they also challenge you, which is perfect, because sometimes when you have like a long experience, you need to be challenged, because otherwise you will get bored, So I think it's amazing. And also, I think something that was quite challenging for me when I came here is that, okay, I have some different thoughts about some things that we are doing, how we can work together and test both things and see what is better. As Sinem said, I'm lucky. I joined the perfect timing, because now everything is
Now the
more
hard
smooth.
work is over.
Yeah. Thank you, Sinem, for that. So yeah, I'm here to enjoy, but yeah. So yeah, I joined, I think, the best timing possible, but it's also a big responsibility, because you are fresh new, so you need to try to give like an extra energy or extra push to keep going forward.
I said before, living the dream in some ways, but there's also a marketer's dream here as well, because when I look at the results, installs dipped while sessions and retention rose. As I said, the marketer's dream, less noise, more signal. Sinem, what is it that you think made that possible?
First of all, I don't want to like echo what we've been talking about before, but the way we segment the audience list, the way we understand our user base, right? That was the first thing. And also being able to share the audience list on a daily basis, maybe sometimes more than once in a day. That was one thing that really, really helped with performance and everything.
Right.
And the other thing was, as always, creatives, because I think sometimes we have this like old rules when it comes to creative optimization, that we should be waiting like for 2 weeks in order for the algorithm to learn and make use of those creatives the best, etc., etc. But we kind of wanted to not obey that, and we first of all try to find really hard to have really good hero creatives, like high scalar winner creatives, and after that we use them on this campaign. But at the same time, we made small twist on it, like we made it maybe like more retargeting native, like changing CTAs, like adding more text. And after that, I think we were able to find better users, like all those from those users pools that we had before. We found the ones that really willing to come back. Maybe they really missed Angry Birds too. Maybe they wanted to have that nostalgic feeling again. We were able to find it, and then they stuck with us longer. And by that, we found a really good success with Aarki.
Smart timing, the right creatives, the nostalgia I find very intriguing. And then all of that with AI-powered segmentation, that makes retargeting one of the most effective levers in the mix, but then keeping that momentum. So both of you, how do you see that possible to keep the momentum? What's helping you keep that momentum? I'll start with you, Sinem.
I think the timing with everything and with your optimizations, and also like what I'm going to say is not being afraid. This is something that we've been practicing a lot more constantly at Rovio over the past year, I would say. Like being brave, if you want to scale, if there is an opportunity to scale, you don't need to afraid, like just scale, just do it. Or there is like this maybe unorthodox way of making a creative optimization or a segmentation or, doing something. Don't be afraid. Just try and test it. I think this is very important to keep the momentum.
It sounds more than even just a growth strategy. It sounds like a motto for life. I love it. I love it. It sums it up really well. Martin, a little bit different for you because I'd like to understand how you see UA and retargeting working together as you work at Rovio to shape this.
UA and retargeting is going to be working together for sure in the future. It's already happening on iOS mostly, but it will keep happening. So I think the teams that find the way to understand better this contextual approach to the audiences or using more predictive tools will have a big advantage on this. Because at the end of the day, it shouldn't be about is a new user or an old user. It should be more about which kind of user is more smart to target now. It's better to go for a high tier LTV user now because he's ready to churn. So, and we know if you target them as soon as they are churning, probably the LTV is going to be higher than if you wait for 1 month, 2 months. So it's more about when is the right time to target the right users than if it is a new user or an old user.
Now with the help of AI and everything, like with the new technologies, we are definitely gonna keep track what is new, and we won't hesitate to test them out and try to extract the value that we have with all those older users that we have. And this can also be like shortening the inactivity windows and testing new things there. Like we are also working on that. That's definitely gonna get bigger, not smaller.
And I like the idea that you're shifting from tracking users. We all are actually, but you're looking at understanding intent more, thinking about the motivation in the context. And that works really well and ties in beautifully with Aarki's own philosophy. When you look at that, it's about don't measure what happened, measure what happened because of you. I'd like to have your thoughts on that, what you brought here to make this possible, because it is a strategy that you architect with the help of tools, but it's also your imagination.
It couldn't be possible without a lot of things happening together, right timing, right moment on product side, because we develop a lot of improvement, and also we find a partner that understand what we want to do, and we have similar visions. So I think when you put all that together, it's easier to have success. And something that we also learn together as a team is you need to take an option. Even if you are saying no or yes, you are always taking an option. In our case, I think keep moving is important. We are very dynamic, and we like to hear about new initiative from our partner. We really consider our partner as partner. We want to grow together. For us, it's more like thinking about the future. We have a really good planning on what is going to happen in the next year or year and a half, which is very difficult in this industry. So we have like a clear path that we want to go, and we are going together, and we go for for everything, all in on this.
Because at one level you're saying, we want new installs at scale, but you also have to keep high value players engaged across your titles and pursue your retargeting goals. It's about choices. So I'm going to ask you both, because now I'm curious, one of the good or bad choices. Sinem, what about a choice you made that either was yay or nay?
Maybe increasing the creative variety, and then maybe testing some maybe unconventional creatives to use when it comes to retargeting. I think that was kind of a yay for me, because we had good learnings, and then we saw that sometimes a very something that you don't expect can really help with good with good results.
Let's swing over to you, Martin. A yay or nah moment in your
Yeah,
life.
I will go for the Rocky design, because we are not afraid of failing, because if you fail, you learn, so it's not a big problem. But something that happened on retargeting, like not too many time ago, like a couple of months ago, is that everything was going really good, and say, okay, I think we could even squeeze more the results on the performance, and I tried to over segmentate the campaigns, and that didn't work at the end. So something that I think, okay, the big advantage of retargeting is that you can choose in which pond you want to fish. You want to fish on the high LTV users, yeah, so go for that. Or you want to fish on the new non-payer users, you can do that. You can decide which audience you want to target. And in this case, I was too greedy, and the results weren't good, but we came back very, very fast to the previous setup and work really good again. But yeah, you fail and you learn.
That's fascinating. Sort of, you went too deep in the micro
Yeah.
segmentation so far that the returns were gone because the audience is too small. They might be highly engaged, but you've now taken out some of that middle that you were aiming for, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, and in this case, the balance was everything, because as I mentioned, sometimes going to high LTV users is too risky because it's very expensive, and you can lose a lot of scale doing that. So yes, in this case, I mean, the audience wasn't that small, but it was impossible to replicate the results between a balanced audience, like with high LTV, mid LTV users, instead of having one campaign going all in on high LTV users and then another campaign going on mid LTV users. In this case, it was better like to put all together and go for that, and leave the machine learning to decide which users want to target, because as we said before, timing is also important. So which user is the one that is ready to be re-engaged is important, and having like a more balanced audience could help to find those.
I want to bring it back to you and your backstory. So, Martin, we were talking, so I'll continue with you. You spent 10 years in performance marketing, joining Rovio just recently. And I was reading in your bio as well, you are excited by turning complex data into clear insights that help teams grow. What is an insight or a data point that you picked up on that's really changed how you approach growth? Maybe something other marketers, gloss over or miss altogether.
I think it's like a very funny story, because this started with me being biased. This started when I was joining retargeting for the first time, and I heard about, retargeting is too risky or is complicated because users could come back organically. So why we should spend money on them? Or are you sure? Because if we short the inactivity window and the overlap with the users coming back, the cannibalization would be huge. So I started with that, I wanted to decrease the inactivity window in my previous company. And it was like, maybe it's not the best idea, because now we see let's say 20% of overlap with the users that come back organically, or 30 or 40. That's not good. And I start thinking, okay, what happened when we re-engage those users sooner or faster, That's make any change on how they behave, that change anything on the LTV. So we start running some tests, and we saw that as soon as you target them, if you're doing it in a very short way, the LTV is higher, because the user is ready to spend and is not spending right now in any other game. We are still almost sticking to our game because they just turning. It's something that started, okay, but the overlap is huge. Yeah, but maybe it's a trade-off that we are willing to pay, and that's fine with us to deal with that. If the LTV is 30 or 40% higher, why not to do it? And also, what do you prefer, to have $100 in your pocket today or maybe in 1 month? Because you can reinvest that money if you have it right now in your pocket. So also, to do it faster could be important in a more like holistic way, in a more business way. It's important to have revenue as soon as possible. So that's something that started with a very negative number, let's say, because it was like, okay, maybe the overlap is going to be huge. We shouldn't do that. But then I started thinking which other pieces of the puzzle will probably move if we do that. We do that. The results were good. So yeah, I think that was one learning, and something that you don't have to be afraid of the numbers. You just test. A bad result is not maybe something that should be like, okay, we cannot do this. Maybe we cannot do this in this way, but we can try any other ways to do it. And there is always a solution. So I encourage everyone to test.
So, Sinem, we're talking about the great backstory. You have a very interesting story as well, because you were working personally with MrBeast. So I'm just curious what that unlocked in you and what has stayed with you personally and even professionally there as you approach marketing today.
It was in my previous company, so not at Rovio. It was a new game launch, and the plan that we had, if even it was 5 years ago, it was very, very, very expensive campaign. So we had to
MrBeast is not cheap. Not even
yeah, definitely. He's not cheap. And the numbers were like, to me, it was crazy at the time. Anyways, we engaged those users very, very well, like the users of watchers of like MrBeast, fans of him. We wanted to make sure that they were coming from him. And of course, there is this link that we can track. But everyone who made influencer marketing before know that those things don't really work. And in order to overcome that, I remember we asked them to, like, MrBeast actually asked them to add Mr. before their usernames when they first download the game. And so that we could actually see like who are coming from him. So that was very smart, and it was a great campaign idea in my opinion. But at the same time, there is another part of a bit negative part of working with MrBeast. Even though he is huge, and even though the campaign made us learn a lot of things, it was still, the conversions were not that big. Working with MrBeast can be actually like expensive, but not super, super effective, because when the YouTuber or influencer gets bigger and bigger, I think the effectiveness of them also gets smaller and smaller. And I'm sure today it's going to be even, bigger gap. So yeah, it's also something to consider.
It's interesting. It all comes back to the personal touch, right? You've talked about retargeting. You've talked about the advantages as well as the challenges. And that's been a very thoughtful conversation and what this series is all about, because retargeting is not just an afterthought. It's part of the growth story where creativity, data, empathy work together, and where you two work together as well. So I want to thank you both for taking the time.
Thank you, Peggy.
Thank you so much, Peggy.
And to everyone listening in, well, this is just part of the 2026 full funnel app growth series powered by Aarki. There's a lot more coming, and we'll learn about what full funnel growth really means in practice. So in the meantime, subscribe, share, tell your tribe, stay tuned for the next episode, and join us as we explore the new rules of growth in a privacy-first world.